Reed, we're here on the 10-year anniversary of when we both drowned in that old well.
That's true. These ghosts have been doing a dang up job on the show so far. I just hope we can keep it going.
You never noticed that they were in frame, either of us.
Look at that.
We're going to cut all of this.
Look at that. I'm going to zoom in on something in that corner. There's going to be nothing there. This is gold. Well, it's summer.
Yeah.
It's a season of warm times and happy cottage camping memories. So what better time to watch Lake Mungo?
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like where you put a summer camp,
It
right?
does.
So it must be like a fun romp.
It sounds like it would be a fun romp. Not so much. This is Lake Mungo. This is this has been on the back burner for us for a long time for multiple reasons. I saw this movie the first time a couple years ago. I really liked it. You've had this on your list for a while.
Yeah, I remember you talking about it. I think Red Letter mentioned it at something. I think, it pops up on lists once in a while, especially since, as you lovely folks may have noticed, we've started to delve into found footage horror a little bit. And it comes up in a lot of those discussions, and I knew literally nothing about it, other than it was called Lake Mungo.
And many of you wonderful folks in our comments have suggested this, especially on our found footage movies, Grave Encounters, Hell House. Lake Mungo comes up a lot. So it was finally time to do it. We sat down and watched Lake Mungo, a rewatch for me. To get it out of the way, I liked this movie when I saw it the first time. I would say I liked it more on a rewatch. I think this movie is very scary in a very unique way, but it stuck with me, and I remembered it being really scary, enough so that when I turned it on for a rewatch, I was like scared going in. Like I had to be kind of in the right mindset, because I'm like, I know there's some messed up stuff in this movie that made me really uncomfortable and scared the first time. I think I was so scared the first time I watched this movie that my brain kind of forgot a lot of the other details. This movie does a lot more than just be scary. In fact, the scares per minute's relatively low. And on a rewatch, I think I appreciated a lot more of the intermediate stuff, the general production, a lot of little details. So I'm very excited to talk about it because there's a lot of things I didn't catch the first time that I definitely did this time, while also being spooked once again. That was my experience with this movie. How did you feel about Lake Mungo? First thoughts?
This is a really well-crafted movie. I get what they were trying to do, but for me, this was a big old swing and a miss. I'm excited to talk about why, and I think I've done what I normally wouldn't do and kind of delved a little bit more into other people's reviews because I really wanted to understand. Because I think I get it, and after looking around more, I do get what people like.
Okay.
And I think there's some very clear reasons why it just did not work for me in the slightest. This movie was bored, one good scare, movie's over.
Interesting.
And even looking back and reading more about the details and some of the stuff I would have missed, again, well-crafted. Nothing against anyone who likes it. I think that this is really solid, and it is more of a case of it didn't work for me than it is bad.
Okay. This is going to be a very interesting one.
Yeah.
We're coming to very different sides.
And I can go ahead and tell you, again, from looking at this is a very polarizing movie.
It definitely is. Like, I think it was IMDb, it's like a 6.
Yeah,
and if you look
but
at them,
it's ones and tens.
Ones or tens.
Yeah.
And even amongst the horror community, I think most horror fans I've talked to or seen talking about do really like this movie, but it can be divisive. I even saw in the trivia that Jordan Peele thinks this is the scariest movie he's ever seen.
Mike Flanagan said something similar.
Yeah,
He said it was
so
like one of the best movies he's seen in a long time.
It's one of those brain chemistry movies.
Yeah.
And funny enough, we'll talk about this in the deep dive. I think this movie is heavily inspired by David Lynch. And I'm not the only person that thinks that. So it's really funny that I loved it and you didn't, because that's another trend with us, is things that are Lynch adjacent work for me and don't for you. So I guess we'll talk about that as we kind of get to it. But
Hey, wait. Actually, can you hold this for a sec? I figured I might need to come prepared for this shoot today. So I'm just going to put this right on the table. You good?
No,
you go ahead and put that first one in.
That's pretty good. And you know what's funny about this is that I didn't catch the Twin Peaks stuff
the
first watch at all. And I had seen everything I'd pretty much seen of Lynch up to that point, so it was truly a rewatch that took me to get to the Twin Peaks of this all.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely...
It's not obvious. It's not in your face like most people do Lynch. And
It's very much in like the themes more
Yes.
so than the execution. It doesn't have any of the weirdness.
you stole
but,
the
I
words
mean,
from my mouth.
Yeah, I mean, but like at its core, this is a story about a community of people being destroyed by the loss of a young woman, and you kind of uncovering the backstory of what had led to this in her life without her direct interaction, which is exactly Twin Peaks.
With the last name Palmer.
Yeah, like that was
That was maybe the final hint for me. This
Right.
was about this. I'll have to get some more coins as we go along here. Normally we jump straight into the movie, but I think that Lake Mungo deserves a little bit of a preface around the framing and what type of movie this is.
Yeah.
Because this gets lumped in with found footage horror.
which
It's
really
not.
isn't. No.
There's like 5 minutes of found footage in this movie, and it's very intentionally placed at different points. This is a mockumentary.
Yeah, this is Netflix documentary horror.
Yeah.
Is what this is.
Before that was even popular,
Mm-hmm.
this was more, when this came out 2007, I think it was, 2008, this would have been more like daytime TV true crime stuff, which
Yeah.
has now become Netflix true crime documentaries. But this movie is a mockumentary.
Mm-hmm.
Mockumentary feels a bit disingenuous because normally that is a comedic or parody take on it.
Yeah.
This is a horror movie that intentionally commits to the documentary format for the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about this because most found footage horror movies start as a documentary.
Like Hell House, the first 10 minutes is.
Yeah, micro documentary, interview the experts, set the stage, set some mystery, and then there's that black screen with white text that says the next 90 minutes of footage is raw footage, unedited, undoctored, and then you go, and the rest of the movie's that.
Yeah.
Most found footage movies do that, or at least they have that text screen. Like Blair Witch, I think, only has the text, and then you're right into the raw footage. Grave Encounters, they have one scene with a producer guy, black screen with white text into the footage. This movie doesn't ever goes black screen, white text. The whole movie is a documentary up to the end. And if you were dumb, you could be watching this and just be like, this happened? It's because it's very convincing, and it's very much a documentary through and through. They never break format.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about some people get frustrated with certain, I think Late Night with the Devil is the best example of like taking a lot of liberties with this. This goes as far as you can go the other way, where there is literally like 99% of this movie could just be in an actual documentary about, a missing girl.
Yeah.
And it would be indistinguishable. If you turn this off, like if you turn this on for your parents and for, like, there would be no indication that this is not real.
No.
Like literally ever, I don't
No. The performances, from a production value perspective, it all seems real. Funny you mentioned Late Night with the Devil. Did you see that the writer-director of this was the producer and script editor for Late Night with the Devil?
I didn't.
And it's the only credit he's had since Lake Mungo.
Oh, that's kind of fun.
So they brought him in to do...
Interesting. Other than being found footage, not a lot of through lines.
No, except maybe someone with an eye for creating convincing meta, like weird meta takes on a horror film. Because Late Night with the Devil is a very format heavy. But anyways, let's talk about Lake Mungo. We've set the stage. We jump into this movie. It opens with a bunch of spooky ghosts.
I feel like something bad is going to happen to me. Or I feel like something bad has happened.
Kind of like a Netflix true crime would.
Yeah.
You always have a spooky opening.
Yeah.
Right? With the ghost faces. You're getting little, almost coming up teasers. You're getting quotes that we won't hear until much later in the movie.
It's hard for some people to understand, but you have to believe you're to blame or else there's nothing to hold on to.
We launched pretty quickly into talking about Alice, who's Alice Palmer, the daughter of the family who was 16 and drowned. And the first hour of this movie is nothing even remotely supernatural. It's interviews with the family about, maybe not quite hour, but at least this first section is just interviews with the family about Alice having drowned and like their reaction to it and kind of how those first couple days played out. And it was, I mean, like incredibly believable. Like relative to anything I've ever seen, there was just no cinematic language being used here. This just really, especially because it's not famous people. This is an Australian movie, and none of these people were in Lord of the Rings. So
They don't even have IMDb photos,
No.
most of them. And it feels real.
So you really just buy that this is a family. So there's the father, the mother, and the little brother, or the older brother, whichever.
Yeah, I think younger brother.
Younger brother, just being interviewed about the day that Alice drowned. You don't get a ton of details other than it's really more about like their feelings and emotions more so than like
nothing paranormal.
Yeah, nothing paranormal and not like a sequence of events, right?
No.
Don't set up an explicit mystery.
No.
Alice's towel, she had left it on the ground, and she clearly hadn't got out of the water, because then, she would have picked up her towel. So
there is some weirdness around the drowning that I think I want to come back to at the end of our discussion, because it's not like obvious how she drowned. The father even mentions the water was still, no one saw anything. It's a very mysterious drowning, even though they don't dwell on that. She was like an able-bodied young woman with no medical history who drowned in a small pond on a clear day. So there's definitely some mystery there, but the movie doesn't go there. But you as the viewer are definitely a little bit like, it's not like she was swimming in the ocean on a rough day.
Yeah.
Which is normally what a documentary
or
would
like
give you.
there was like a scream and a swirling in the water, anything like that.
Nothing.
Right? It's just
they just
really
find her towel.
Yeah.
That's it.
So I stood up and looked out across the dam, and the water was completely still.
And what this for opening bit does, nothing paranormal's happening, nothing's going on. I don't know when the appropriate time to talk about this is, but the performances in this movie are unbelievably realistic. I don't know where they found these people, but every single actor, and we talked about this in our Hell House video. Hell House starts first 10 minutes documentary style. They interview people, and they're all good. Some of them are better than others, and one guy stood out.
Yeah.
Jeb Krieger. We've joked about this a lot. Jeb Krieger is the guy they interview that's kind of the known character actor, and he has a very important job because he's the one who sets up the real mystery and the real anticipation. What happened on Hell House, Halloween night? But you need that character to be great in a Hell House because he kind of carries the entire thrust of like, why are we even watching the found footage?
Yeah.
I think everyone in this movie is a Jeb Krieger. It's crazy the quality of cast they got. Like I even wrote, even the grandparents are good.
Yeah.
The grandparents, just these two old people, their performance, like you said, at no point feels false.
We got a call from Russell on his mobile about 9 o'clock at night, and he'd said there'd been an accident at the weir and Alice had gone missing.
And I think it's easy to discount that, to be like, but they're just talking. They're just being normal. Most movies can't do this.
No, and it's beyond that. It's like the accurate portrayal of grief. Like you really you don't feel like this is someone on an audition tape going, "No, my daughter." Right? It's like it's so real,
played down.
Yeah, and it's just like obviously it's like months after the fact, so they've done the crying, and now it's them just like. I think this is pretty early on, the little moment where Russell, the dad, talks about leaving the light on.
I remember we had the porch light on. Still too, actually, just in case.
And like that for sure got to me. Like that was like, oh.
Just in case she comes home, I guess.
I think this is a good place to talk about one of the big reasons it didn't work for me, and this is, it's too good. Because this really just felt like I was watching a Netflix documentary.
Right.
For the first hour. This is just any documentary about someone whose daughter died. And I don't want to watch that. It was too good and too realistic without anything else brought in that I'm just like...
Too realistic. That's
I just felt like I was watching real footage of someone whose daughter drowned talking about their daughter drowned for an hour.
I think that's a very fair criticism. I think that by the hour mark, we do start to get into footage, which definitely gives you some nuggets, but it takes its time. It really slow burns. Obviously, that's why I loved this.
Yeah.
Because it really made you invest in this not being paranormal, and this just being a story you're being told about, that when the paranormal stuff starts, it's really a rug pull, and that worked for me. But I completely understand where you're coming from, and there's a reason I wouldn't recommend this to anyone that has gone through this, because I think it's too real. Yeah,
I mean, it is very real, and it's a particular thing for me because I don't engage with this kind of content at all. I did not watch Making a Murderer, I didn't watch The Jinx, I don't listen to series. Like, I don't like this I don't like true crime.
Okay.
When
I do, which is something to note.
It's just, I don't enjoy it. I don't want to hear about it. I like, cinema, right? I want it to be a story someone crafted. I don't read nonfiction very often.
Right.
So this crossed over to where it felt like nonfiction and triggered that part of me just like, I don't care. And like, it's not that, again, it was brilliantly done. This was an incredible reproduction of this, and the way they wrote it felt very realistic. And I didn't like watching it.
It's the most complimentary problem you could
yeah.
ever have.
You did a really good job at mimicking something that I don't want to watch.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, there's a reason a lot of people avoid horror in general. Because some people, even great horror films, like my fiance, doesn't want to engage with these things. Even if it's well made, it's too upsetting. So that's totally fair camp.
I guess I want to be clear that it wasn't that I found it too upsetting to watch. I think I just don't engage with this type of content because when I talk to a lot of people, and I'll try to avoid any kind of spoilers, or when I see a lot of what people talk about what they liked about this so much, I think it relies a lot on your ability to and empathize with the characters, with both Alice and with the family, because there isn't a lot of cinematic things happening in this movie, right? It really, you kind of have to do the work of listening to what they've set up and imagining if this were happening, right? And sort of relying on like little bits of emotion you're getting from them and the scenario they've described to say, okay, this is what it would be like.
It's tell, don't show, which is counterintuitive. That's not normally what they recommend in film.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's obviously intentional, but just for me, I didn't get there watching this movie, right? Because I've seen the scene where the parent has to identify their kid in other movies. Hereditary is probably the best example. Of and that's very cinematic, right? And they're not telling you to do the work. Toni Collette is doing all the work. And I just feel like when I've seen other people talk about this, and presumably you as well, right? This really kind of cutting deep. I didn't get there. I just was not. Yeah. Well, I've said it, but I didn't engage with it in that way, and that's why it didn't work for me.
And I do want to say I would not have engaged with these scenes where they tell, don't show. There's a lot of scenes where it is someone being interviewed explaining it, and they don't have footage because it's a documentary and no one was there.
Which again, intentional.
Intentional. It wouldn't work if the performances were not this good.
I thought that was my responsibility as Ali's dad. That's what a father does.
As we move away from the initial family trauma, the construction of the documentary is so well done. And it's not just the interviews, it's not just the stuff we just talked about, it's the B-roll.
Yeah, like the recreations and
the recreations between scenes are spooky. Like the floating camera through a house while someone does audio over it, you see this in every true crime doc, but it's usually because they don't know what else to cut to. This movie shot those floating cameras through the house like a horror movie.
Yeah.
And it's scary. If you told me someone made a documentary reenactment scary, I wouldn't believe you. This movie did it. If someone told me, this movie has good, between scenes, they'll do B-roll of the Australian outback with the stars. It's all beautiful. It's so well produced. And it brings that legitimacy to the documentary format. So after her body's been found and ID'd, I think it's 10 days later that they start to get some weird stuff happening around the house. The first of the paranormal stuff starts happening.
10 days after Ellie's funeral, so that makes it the 15th of January, stuff started happening around the house.
Well, I think the mom is describing the nightmare of Alice in the room at this point.
Which is really scary, especially overlaid with the, not reenactment, but just the floating camera in the house with the mom describing her nightmare of Alice. Again, it's tell, don't show, but it really got under my skin.
Alice would come down the hall, still dripping from the dam, and just stand at the foot of our bed, just staring at us.
And this is where the dad sees a ghost.
Right.
He talks, again, tell, don't show, about seeing Alice in her room in one of his interview sequences.
I don't really know why, but I sort of found myself sitting down in front of the dresser, and I could kind of work out what I was doing there. Ellie walked.
And that's the first hint at something supernatural going on, I think, that we get in the entire movie, is the dad's experience, which I think gives it a lot of legitimacy because he's clearly the biggest skeptic of the supernatural throughout the film. So the fact that he's the first one to see something, I think interests you more as a viewer. because he's the guy that would be against it, but the dad's already on board.
And they do the work to where they talk to some of like his coworker, the guy with the glasses, where he's saying like he would not be the guy to make this up, and again, even that just guy was like 4 lines of dialogue is like incredibly believable, and it's just saying like if he says he saw something, I believe him.
Yeah,
and just like very very frankly.
Yeah, I do. I believe he saw what he saw, and he wouldn't. He's not the kind of man to make something up.
The brother is learning photography.
Yes.
He starts working at a photography studio, and then he starts some home projects where he is shooting cameras, shots, like still photos in the backyard every day, and he's also doing videos in the house to try to catch whatever they're hearing at night.
Right.
Here's where we start to get some of the very spooky found footage stuff.
Yeah.
It would appear that Alice is standing against the fence.
The still photo in the backyard, I think, is the first one. Definitely gets under your skin. I'm just a sucker for the pause and zoom in on a thing and see a thing you didn't notice the first time. And if you like that, this movie not only does it does it like 3 times within the same video later.
Yeah, it's like layers on layers of that. It is
very well done. And these initial things he's catching on camera are creepy. They're not overtly like, what the heck am I looking at? Especially the hallway walk one. There's a little bit like, is it just a person?
I looked back and there was footage of a figure moving from the lounge room across the hallway to the front door.
So these images they're seeing of Alice around the house, this starts to make the mom.
And sorry, in case you haven't seen, Alice is appearing in these pictures. A figure is appearing in these pictures.
In the backyard, pretty explicitly Alice. Like in the clothes she was wearing the day she died, or something similar. So it's very clearly Alice.
And it's the kind of thing you see, obviously, faked or exaggerated in a lot of stuff, right? Of true crime media and like ghost hunter stuff. But this is a lot more explicit, but still in a way where you're not just thinking, okay, this is a movie and it's CGI, right? It's not the big long faced ghost. It's grounded.
They lean into the analog texture, the VHS tape quality of this, to really hide the imperfections to make it not dated. It doesn't look cheap at all. And these images start to make the mom doubt that Alice died. She thinks maybe Alice is really alive.
I became convinced that Russell had made a mistake. He himself said that it didn't look like anybody.
So they become convinced Alice didn't really die, and they actually exhume her body and do a DNA test.
And this was a very big watershed moment where they don't say right away what happened, they just say they exhumed the body to check, and they talk around it a little bit and like what that meant to them. And this was, I was very interested, because going into this, I'm like, okay, one of two things. Either, yes, Alice is still buried there and this is gonna be a spooky picture movie, or 2, she's gone and now we're going somewhere weird.
Right.
And maybe bad, like the director would probably tell you that sounds very silly and is very contrary to the point to the movie, and fair enough, but when they do in fact find that yes, DNA confirmation, it was Alice in the coffin, this was just about the trauma the parents are experiencing by having to exhume the body, it's kind of like, okay, this is what we're doing, got it.
But there's still a layer of weirdness to this, because the reason they're exhuming the body is because of the videos, and the videos still have a twist to come. I think that a benefit to the documentary framing device. By making this a documentary, it's almost like a promise to us, the viewer, that something has to happen. Because documentaries don't get made about nothing burgers. Something crazy has to happen, or you're not going to make a documentary about it. Whereas a found footage movie...
I would challenge that assertion. You're not going to make a good documentary.
Not a good documentary.
They've made a lot of documentaries when nothing interesting happens.
A documentary, this recommended, there's like, something is going to go down, right? But a found footage movie, it could just be crap. It could be, here's 90 minutes of footage and it's boring, nothing ghosts.
Right.
And it's like, this didn't need to be a thing. The fact it's a documentary, you always know the big thing is coming because this wasn't it. They exhume the body and she's in the coffin. It's almost another, like, well then what the hell is it?
Yeah.
What is this documentary about? Why did they justify a documentary? And I think the movie pays it off. But the movie keeps telling you, sure, that wasn't it. But that means something else has to happen. And I guess the next big development is...
we start seeing the videos from we talked to the
psychic.
Yeah, we talked to the
Ray the psychic.
Yeah.
The Christian name is a name we actually, but I changed it to Ruby. I think it's a more trustworthy name for a gig.
I found, in general, the relationships in the movie are very textured and odd. This is not your standard nuclear family. The relationship with Ray is weird, because the mom wants him there, the dad is very skeptical, the brother kind of forms like a relationship with him, like a uncle-nephew type relationship, and also he starts living with them.
Yeah.
It's a weird, I liked that it was weird, because it made the movie feel more realistic again, that it's like, this isn't just nuclear family going through the step-by-steps. This is like...
I think the point is that it was, and it isn't now.
Yeah.
That was kind of the sense I got.
Twisted.
The characters are all just kind of spiraling off.
There'd been a lot of speculation about Ray and what he was doing there. And I mean, when people don't know, there, of course, leads to a lot of talk and a lot of speculation.
We get the creepiest video that the brother finds of the seance, where they see Alice in the back, and they do the hyper zoom on her, and it zooms in so much that it's like fully pixelated, and they hold on it. Very effective visually, because they give you just enough detail to be like, what the hell am I looking at? But not enough that it looks cheap.
Right.
And you are like, what is that? And you're like, yeah, I wouldn't have noticed either unless you crash zoomed like this. Very creepy. But all these scares up to this point, all the spooky footage, it's about to kind of be undone. Because at this point in the movie, we get the Withers video.
Yes, which is taken by just some random couple
Again,
outdoors.
great actors.
Yeah.
For some reason.
It was a couple of months later, the end of July, when we were looking at our footage that we shot down at the dam.
Where they're filming just each other at a lake, just goofing around, and they kind of catch it.
It was the day... They're at the lake the day that there was a video of Alice taken after her death. So one of the videos that made the parents think she might be alive.
Right.
This couple was shooting a video of themselves the same day at the lake.
And then you find out from the second angle that it was in fact the little brother. It was Matthew.
Wearing her hoodie.
Yeah.
You could see that it definitely was neither female nor Alice. It was Matthew.
He basically pulled a prank. The brother was trying to look like Alice so that people would think she was still alive, and he reveals immediately he doctored all the videos. He had found old videos, old pictures of Alice, set up mirrors, and every video we've seen so far of ghosts has been fake.
I had the TV up on the bookcase, and it was as simple as rotating the mirror that the off the TV came up in it.
How did you think about this? I have strong feelings, and I think they're going to be equal and opposite to you. So I want to know how you feel.
It perked me up a little bit. I was just like, okay, what are they trying to? What's the point then? And we have now like yanked the rug of the only real supernatural thread to this horror movie, and now we are at like an hour, and we've now removed any supernaturalness. This is now just a very subtle tell don't show movie about sad people. Like, what are we doing?
And I think that's why it worked for me.
Okay.
So the brother's motivations are intentionally not fully explained. To be fair, he's 14.
Yeah, something like that.
So it's like he's probably in grief, wants attention. And also he does make a valid point that he thinks that by making people think Alice is alive, it will lead to a deeper investigation of her death, which will maybe lead to more information about how she died, which it does.
I was really keen on this idea that Dad had misidentified her body. And so I knew that without more evidence it wasn't going to happen, so I made the photograph.
Yeah, it's
so
true.
His plan does actually work, and I think that the brother doing this is the only reason the climax of the film works. So it actually makes sense narratively, although even the characters say, the mom, I don't understand why he did it. I'll never understand why he did it, but he's a 14-year-old kid, so maybe you're not going to get it.
I want to say I don't totally believe what he said, but I'm just not convinced that he really knows why he did it.
Why I think this worked is only because this is a documentary, and if this was found footage, this wouldn't have worked. So I want to explain that. If we were watching a found footage, Grave Encounters, and halfway through Grave Encounters, one of the people on the crew is like, I've been faking all the scares. All these real scares for us, the viewer, are deflated by the fact that someone's like, yeah, I was throwing a can, I was knocking on doors. I'd be like, well, what the... I'd be like, okay, well now can we get into the ghosts, right? The documentary format, like I was saying before, has to justify itself. So if halfway through the movie, everything we've seen is faked, and there's half a movie left, or 45 minutes left, my brain's like, okay, well then what the hell is it?
Yeah.
Because there's something else. This isn't even the big one. And that makes me excited to keep going.
You really had a lot of faith in it.
It gave me momentum.
Yeah. You really had a lot of faith that this movie was going to stick the landing.
Yeah.
In a way that I didn't.
Well, I think I do, when I engage with documentaries, I always do. I assume if you're making a documentary, there's got to be a good reason for it. And then if you get to the end of a documentary and you're like, that was it, then those are the bad ones.
Yeah.
But I think I give documentaries, I guess, the benefit of the doubt of like, if you're going to make the effort to interview a family in grief, to go around and get all this B-roll, to do all this stuff, there would have been a reason. There's a story that needs to be told. And the fact we still haven't really found the thing, it's the documentary's version of prolonging what is the horror.
It's really interesting perspective, because I definitely didn't give it that credit, and hearing you say that is very, I guess, illuminating to how it worked, because, I mean, I at this point am still looking at it as a horror movie more than a documentary.
Right.
The style is documentary, but no, I would say I was definitely more in the camp that you were, of like, we had a light thread of something supernatural, but at this point I knew that it wasn't going to be like the long-faced ghost chasing them down the halls. That's not where this was going. But yeah, wiping out any amount of supernatural here, I will say they did find somewhere good to go. And if anything did give me faith, it was just that knowing that you and a lot of people do really like this movie. And if I didn't know that, at this point I would have had no hope. And I might have turned it off. That was really all that kept me going. But I was looking at it more as a horror movie, and a lot of horror movies don't stick the landing.
No.
Right? So.
And you're also not alone. There's a lot of one-star IMDb reviews that are like, I was bored and then it was all fake.
Yeah.
Like, I know that's a very reductive version of what you're saying, but like, there is a camp that this didn't work for. And it's a very bold choice to do this late.
One thing I do want to give credit for, I actually did go back and watch kind of the first little bit again after I finished it, and the brother's performance is better than I gave credit for in context.
Yeah.
Because he's really weird.
Yeah.
He's weird in the way that 14-year-olds are weird, and when you watch it knowing that he's got a whole bunch in the works, that he's doing a bunch of weird stuff you won't find out about later, it rings very true to that in a way that is hard to pull off.
And when it's the family all being interviewed on the couch together, both parents with the brother in the middle, this is done after the fact. They all know he faked it at this point by the time of shooting the documentary. His body language is that of a guilty kid that's telling the story as it occurred chronologically, and like on either side of him, you know, his parents are like, and then what'd you fucking do? Because you know that's coming, and watching it knowing that, every single scene rings different.
Yeah.
Where you're like, wow, he was faking it the whole time, and he's like, does not want to tell the camera because he's embarrassed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it would be interesting. And we've just film it.
There's a bit of an odd scene here that I think is really important for the overall thematic point of the movie, so I want to call it out, about how the family kind of has a history of not being good mothers. And I think this is basically them saying that they have depression running in the family.
As a mother, you've still always got doubts that you're not doing enough or you're not doing the right thing.
The grandmother says, like, I was kind of an absent mother. I struggled to fully love my daughter.
I've never been able to self over wholly to June.
And I fear that I passed that on to her. And the mom feels that she didn't do the best job raising Alice, and feels like Alice might have died not knowing she loved her, which is a very hard scene to watch emotionally.
I hope that Alice did know how much I loved her. I guess I held something back a little as she grew older.
But it sets this tone that this family was not perfect. There was a history of depression here. And I think we'll circle back to this at the end of the movie, but I think this is kind of one of the keys to what this movie's really about, is that these were not natural, instinctive mothers. Yeah, it's close enough. I need to, there we go.
You can just do it now.
It's Twin Peaks. It's just Twin Peaks. There's some stuff going on at home, all right? The brothers faked everything. And pretty much right after we know the brothers faked everything, we get another video, because he kept the cameras rolling at home and he went on a trip with Ray the Psychic.
Yeah.
So they caught something on video in the house when he wasn't home, so everyone knew he couldn't have faked it. And it's a video of Alice in the corner. And what I found interesting is that it feels so different than the doctored footage. I don't know what they did. It could have been the sound editing on the scene. It could have been the lighting. But the doctored footage was spooky when I first saw it. I'm like, oh, that's weird. It has this quality to it where you're like kind of creeped out. When they showed us the real haunted footage, the one that could not be explained with faking it, there was this texture to it that was so much creepier than everything we've seen before that it's almost like my brain was like, yeah, that's real. And the other ones weren't, but I can tell, even though it's all fake because it's a movie. But they did something to make it feel different, and it worked for me.
They like leveled that up. Yeah, I get what you mean, and they did. It's subtle. It has to be in something like this, but yeah, they find a way to kind of build on it to iterate into the next level of spooky.
Only Angela and I were in the house when these images were recorded. Matthew couldn't have had anything to do with them.
I guess we move into the Thule video.
Yeah.
We'll dance around it for YouTube not taking your channel down, but
Right.
If you want to explain.
Well, as it turns out, it's their next door neighbors, and it's Alice babysitting.
And she's 16.
Yes, she's 16 years old, and they find footage. How do they find the video?
That actually was one of the scariest scenes of the movie, is they're re-looking at the fake video footage.
Yeah.
And then they notice a face in Alice's room.
There was a second figure, not Matthew in the hallway, but someone else squatting in the dark in Alice's room.
Which, before they explained it, I was like, that's the scariest thing I've ever seen. It looks like a little devil man.
And it's just the neighbor.
Turns out it's the neighbor. The mom identifies the neighbor.
Coming to get the video back, which then they find the video, and it's Alice hanky-pankying with this adult couple next door.
Yeah, having an extremely inappropriate relationship with the couple next door. They were filming it, and Alice had one of these on tape, and the neighbor had broken into the house to pull it back. Yeah, I fucking know. I mean, I'm just gonna go get some points. This, we don't need to go into detail on it because it's extremely disturbing, but the important thing this shows is the Twin Peaks aspect, that Alice's life was not what they thought. She had some shit going on.
Yeah.
She was into some dark stuff, and the parents were completely oblivious, and clearly was not doing well. And the neighbors move a couple months after Alice's death, clearly to get the hell away from all this, and they are not brought up again for the rest of the movie.
And I did actually like that. I think that this is obviously trying not to, I've said it, but it's not trying not to be cinematic, right? It's not wrapping up a lot of loose ends. And one of those, I mean, in a more conventional horror movie, he gets in a shouting match with the neighbor, right? They get in a fight. I don't know. The cops come get. No. The neighbor stole the video, took off. They never find him again.
The husband says, "If I saw him, I'd kill him."
Yeah,
but I don't know where they are.
If he was around the corner, I'd probably throttle him.
They're not in the documentary. There's like one picture of them, and that's all you
There's
get.
video from a birthday party of them arguing in the background, which is just enough to show you they knew.
Yeah.
And they got out of town. Tastefully done.
And that's
for something extremely disturbing.
From the moment that they'd heard of Alice's death, they would have been living in this constant fear of being found out.
We move into the next, and I want to give the movies a lot of credit here. This didn't work as well for you, but I think it's more about your engagement with the format. As far as documentaries go, the breadcrumb, the pace at which they give you breadcrumbs was perfect. Because every time the movie started to lull, or for me to be like, okay, I understand this development, they're like, bam, new development. And they keep doing it. It's like the fake videos, and then the real videos, and then the Thules, and then the next big one, the big development, is that we discover that Alice went and spoke with Ray the Psychic.
Yes.
And Ray the Psychic did not disclose this to her parents. Now I'm just gonna go ahead, and for any Dr. Jacoby fans from Twin Peaks, this is literally from the first episode of Twin Peaks, so that's just egregious.
Laura's parents. They didn't know that she was seeing me.
But yeah, she was seeing a psychic on her own. Ray felt that, I guess, like, doctor-patient confidentiality applies, even though he's a psychic. But he didn't tell her parents, and what she revealed in the interviews is very insightful to why she died.
Look, I think it was a case of hiding something from them. It was more that I was honouring Alice's request for confidentiality. But it was damned if you do, damned it, you know.
Which obviously the parents are pissed about, and they kick Ray out of their house because he's living with them. Again, I really like the relationship with Ray because it's like such a weird, tangled mess, but that's what would happen.
Yeah.
In reality, when something just horrible happens, you're not just gonna go lead a normal life. You're gonna like have a live-in psychic that betrays you. Like that's what happens.
I think he needed us as much as we needed him.
I wanted to note that in that interview, Alice kind of reads from, I think, her dream journal.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of the most powerful things in the movie.
Yeah, this was really good.
It's really you hearing in Alice's own words that she knew she was gonna die.
Yeah, and the filmmaking here, right? This is not a movie that does a lot of literal
cinematic.
Yeah. I didn't want to keep using the word, but yeah, cinematic camera work. But just this was a really good one here. That it's an old digital but the effect is that she looks transparent in this shot, in a way that was really cool.
Everything felt wrong. My body, the way things looked. Then I realized that there was something wrong with me.
And like what Alice says here, talking about kind of her premonition of her own death and feeling like this thing is coming for her, this impending doom she felt. It was very powerful and emotional for me when I was watching it. And obviously the filmmaker thought so as well, because I believe this snippet is used in the opening credits over the spooky photos. I think this is one of the first things we hear.
I feel like something bad is going to happen to me. I feel like something bad has happened.
And it really sets the tone for the whole movie. This is not just a haunting movie. There are layers to this. I don't want to say time travel, but there is an element of...
Well, there pretty explicitly is.
So we'll get to that, but this element of... It introduces this layer, this texture of she didn't just drown in a lake. She knew she was going to die. You know who else knew she was going to die from dreams? You know who else knew that? Yeah, I know someone else who knew that.
You're buying a new camera, baby.
Man, smell those trees. Smell those Douglas firs.
We should be clear that despite this being called Lake Mungo and the whole thing so far being about a girl drowning in a lake, that wasn't Lake Mungo.
I did think it was Lake Mungo.
It's not.
It's not
Wrong,
Lake Mungo.
Dumb boy.
In fact, Lake Mungo doesn't have any water in it.
No. Maybe it was around, isn't it? Night you can't see.
I assume it was a lake in like the prehistoric era. It's a dry lake. No.
Yeah, it's Australia. Who knows? We find out, I guess, what actually set off the events of the film and everything happening with Alice, which is she went to camp with
like summer camp.
Friends. Summer camp. Alice was like not doing so good
because all the kids have video cameras that they're videoing with. So you get multiple angles of the same night.
And it's at night from like really low res footage, so you're not really sure what you're seeing, but basically we get Alice is not doing well, and then she goes off on her own.
Well, they captured on another kid's video that she buried stuff.
Yeah.
And they don't know why. So the family actually goes to Lake Mungo and digs it up, and it's all of her possessions. It's her jewelry, it's like her favorite necklace, and all this stuff, and her cell phone. And then we get her cell phone footage.
Yes. This was really good. I didn't like this movie. This didn't work for me. I will freely admit this was very, very, very good.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say this is probably, if you had to make me pick, might be the scariest thing I've ever seen.
I had to actively look away.
I
couldn't watch the whole
thing. I haven't done this since I was 10.
Yeah.
I couldn't watch it. It is genuinely one of the scariest things you'll ever seen. I'm gonna put a clip in, but it really doesn't do it justice if you don't have the build up and the hour and 10 minutes of setup for this.
Yeah.
This movie has this, I mean, there are other scares. I was scared throughout the movie at different points, but this scare is scary enough to carry the entire film. This is what you remember.
Yeah, I mean, I've been clear about how I was pretty bored by this point, and yeah, this still worked really well for me.
And it's so subtle, and it's so grainy, and it's not, most of our found footage scares, the ones that really work, there's a lot of artifice to them. There's like Grave Encounters, I think one of our favorites was the hair being lifted.
Yeah.
Which is good, but it's, I wouldn't say gimmicky, but it's like lifting of hair. They would have had to do string above. There's some setup, and there's like 5 people in the shot. There's some artifice to that. Hell House has the clowns.
Yeah.
And to have the clown move between the camera moving, they're probably doing some camera trickery, right? Like there's production behind those scares. This is so down and dirty. It's just a grainy Nokia phone video of a figure slowly approaching you, and then eventually you realize it is you. It is you, but you're dead.
Yeah.
It is your drowned body.
Alice has out in the desert encountered her own drowned corpse, basically, and just visually absolutely brilliant.
But Alice saw her ghost a year before her death and knew she was gonna die, which that's what set off everything else. Her relationship with the Toolies, her depression, the dark era, because she knew her death was coming.
I believe she recorded a ghost. I believe she recorded the future coming to get her.
The final thing it moves to, because the movie's pretty much over, right? Like, we've discovered it, and what happens is that the family stops experiencing hauntings. That's the final thing here. I think it's pretty intentional. Like, Alice's ghost can rest because her family knows what happened to her, and her family finally understands her life. If I can just add one there for that. And there's this scene right at the end of the movie that is the interview Alice did with Ray, overlaid with the mom's final consultation with Ray. And they basically have their final goodbye in a state of hypnosis, out of time, in a dream world.
Yeah.
Where the mom goes to Alice's room and doesn't see her, and Alice before she even died, says, "My mom is leaving now."
Oh, she's going now. She's leaving the room. She's gone.
Like, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. It's like, we know that was their final moment together, and it happened when neither of them was aware what it even meant yet. It, like, the meaning of it only took place when you can look back on all the events as they transpired. And it's this little moment of insignificance in both their lives. Not insignificance, but how would you know that was the final moment with your child at the time? It was extremely powerful. I really found that.
Yeah, it was cool.
It ends the movie on a positive note, which is crazy. This movie is not Talk to Me. This is not Fuck You horror.
No.
This is...
It's not a happy note,
tragic.
but it's at least like a... Right? It's at least like a loving note.
Alice's ghost can rest, and her family has closure, and they will move on with their lives.
The movie is ultimately about grief. It wears that very much on its sleeve, right? And grief, that's where grief comes from, right? Like, they very much love this person, and it's them processing that and kind of saying goodbye is the movie.
Tuco, you're being too loud. Do you want to be on the show? Come here. Come here, Tuco. Oh, look at that. You're on the green corner. Okay, down you go. Off you go. Go sit.
Airbud next week with Tuco the dog.
Sit.
Alan wanted us to know more about her. She wanted us to know who she really was.
Now we've finished talking about it. That final scene with Mom and Alice having their kind of overlaid conversations, I want to talk about what I think this movie's really about, which is suicide.
Yeah.
And what's crazy to me is I didn't get that on my first viewing. I think because I was hooked enough and scared enough that my brain didn't take the time to think one level deeper. I never thought about it at, like, was there anything they didn't tell me that I need to be aware of? Because the movie doesn't explicitly state this.
No.
At no point does it even hint at it, which is really restrained to the filmmaker. Because this movie takes great strides to investigate every single detail of Alice's life, down to the affair with the neighbors. It feels like if there was something to be said, they've told us. But it leaves you with this little thread of how did she drown? Like I said at the beginning, still water, clear day, no signs of struggle. She was able-bodied, she could swim. It's odd. I think it's pretty clearly set up that it's not like she knew she was going to die in a freak accident.
You set up the whole time loop there, right? It's like she knew she was going to, so she did.
Yeah.
Which, that does tie it into a lot of other things. I mean, even like a lot of time travel stuff, and then also, I mean, what I connect, Hill House, right?
Yeah.
That's the bent neck lady thing. Like, it is the same
that's
thing,
a great
although
point.
way less kind of subtle. But yeah, and it really kind of asks the interesting question about, like, did she kill herself because of the premonition, or was it was always going to happen, right? Like, it was.
Why did she feel she had to?
Yeah,
right.
Which ultimately, I guess, when you're taking it as a commentary on suicide, that is the case, right? Is you feel like you have to, right? You feel like there's no other option. Like, this is the only available path. And I guess that's the commentary, and like the ultimate theme of the movie is that name help Alice. You're right. Like, this, no one was going to be able to save her. Like, this was the path she was locked into. Well, nobody found that out until later.
And they even have that scene where the parents say, could I have done more?
Mm-hmm.
Could I have helped her? But they're saying it in the context of her affair with the neighbors.
Right.
But that comment really applies to her entire death.
Mm-hmm.
Could I have done something to stop this, right? And I feel like that affair with the neighbors almost allowed us to engage with these questions directly without calling it suicide. Mm-hmm. Because it gave us a clear thing she was struggling with that the parents didn't know about, that they couldn't work with her on, that may have led to her death.
I believe that if it hadn't been for them, she would have reached out to us. She wouldn't have felt guilty. She wouldn't have felt the burden of that secret. She wouldn't have been isolated.
I have to say, like, we've been joking about this. I think, I mean, it's obvious the filmmaker, I mean, by naming the character Palmer, you would almost call it required reading. And I think the neighbor thing kind of, like, Twin Peaks, I would almost call Twin Peaks required reading for this film. Because it's sort of, especially with the neighbor thing, I think the filmmaker wanted you to connect it to Laura Palmer. Yes, the idea that the 16-year-old girl was having an affair with a married couple is a very, very messed up thing. It is like 2 seconds of video footage and a 2-minute conversation. They don't dwell on it, right? Mm-hmm. You really, and it sounds weird to say, but like, you kind of have to do work to really appreciate the gravity of how messed up that is and what it really says about her mental state, and the movie doesn't give you a lot of time to do that.
No.
I would posit that the filmmaker kind of wanted you to tie this to Laura Palmer and be like, this isn't literally the same thing, but you've kind of seen what I'm going for, and I kind of want you to go to that same place of, like, they have uncovered this whole messed up world, and we're really seeing the depths of her mental state before she died, and we had no idea. I think that was intentional. It's hard for me to speak about suicide. It's hard for anyone to speak about suicide, but I think kind of what they're trying to say about it is that it isn't something that you choose to do so much as something that happens to you.
And it feels inevitable.
Yeah.
It feels like she says it's something coming to me and I can't stop it.
Exactly.
It's not a choice. It's this unstoppable object.
And I think that is the ultimate point of this movie and the ultimate theme that runs through. But it's told from it is a very kind of unique and refreshing kind of oblique angle to take at it. And that's probably that's the coolest, most creative thing about this movie, right? Is because you could make this movie where you're just, I don't know, playing the rock music and following her through things, right? Like, this could be a very straight up movie, and you've shot a very straight up movie from a totally creative and innovative angle in making this documentary that reveals, that keeps its cards so close to the chest all the way throughout. Obviously very intentional and great that it works so well for you and for so many people. Like, it is a very cool project, and I will give it a lot of credit for that.
And I've never really seen anything like it.
No.
Which is, because I think to make a horror movie in this framing device is hard.
Yeah, to make it actually scary as well, which...
I think that it feels like the director's like stunting on us. As someone who loved it, it's like, what could you have done in a more traditional format?
Yeah.
Because it's crazy that you made this scary. Let's score this sucker, Avery. We're on Deep Dive. Let's start with our critical reviews, then we'll move into our personal reviews, then we'll pick our MVPs, just like always. Avery, what is your critical review?
Critically, B+.
Okay.
I thought this is really well put together, and I work hard to distinguish things that I didn't like versus things that didn't work.
Right.
This isn't an A because I thought there were a couple of things that didn't work. I think a lot of people, I mean, reflected in the reviews, and me included, are going to have a hard time engaging because this movie really does ask you to do a lot of the work. And I think that it could have done some things to kind of open it up to make that easier without sacrificing the quality of the movie. Some of the stuff with the psychic and also just the brother doctoring the photos, I think are both things that work in the screenplay and work once you've dissected the movie, but in the moment are tough to fully kind of wrap your head around in a way that serves your watching during the first viewing.
Okay.
Deliberate by the filmmaker, work overall, but just for me, I think that it kind of set too high a barrier to entry and was part of why I didn't engage with this movie as much.
A B+ is very respectable.
It's the only thing that keeps it out of an A. I really respect a lot of the creativity and very much respect like the craft of this. The scene to scene with the budget and what they were working with is brilliantly put together, and I got a lot of respect for it there. Personally, C.
Okay.
Not awful, but just other than the kind of scare at the end, and I mean I'm enjoying talking about it, and I very much. There's a lot of films I don't enjoy where I'm like, I just want to move on. I was really curious with this one to hear, because I know so many people really like it. I respect a lot of what it was doing. It was a very clear, well-executed vision. So I really wanted to hear and talk about what worked for other people.
Right.
It didn't work for me, and I think I've talked about it. I don't like murder documentaries very much. I have trouble empathizing with characters in the way that you kind of needed to, right? During the watching of this movie, like the idea of kind of empathizing with Alice to the degree that it's scary and you're picturing what it would be like. There wasn't like a lot of space. You kind of had to be with this movie.
Yeah. It's a very singular vision.
Yeah, the thing that he was trying to do had to work, and especially during my viewing, it just didn't really work. So, C.
Critically, I'm giving this movie an A+.
Wow.
I'm going all the way up, and I thought really hard about this. I think that this movie tried to do something, and I think it perfectly executed what it was trying to do. Every scare scared me crapless. The documentary aspects were perfect. The performances are extremely strong. It executed on exactly what it needed to do to be a documentary about a haunting that was actually scary. I have no notes. There's nothing I would have changed to make this a better film to do what it's trying to do.
Yeah.
And I think it went above expectations in a number of areas that bump it up to a plus. The performances did not need to be this good. The performances could have been worse, and this still would have been a good movie. They are insane. Like, just watch this movie if you want to see character acting.
Yeah.
If you're a character actor, this is like a textbook on how to be a character. It's insane how good the performances are. The stuff it has to say about depression and Alice and this depression running in the family and the relationship between the women in the family and her impending death and all this, those thematic emotional elements, I think this movie would have been good without them. I think this movie's scary enough to be a decent horror movie if you didn't have any of that, any of those layers.
There are very few horror movies that have this level of kind of emotional and thematic depth.
Like, I think it's an A-, maybe A, if you strip all that seasoning out of it. But when you add in the emotional depth and how much this actually put me in the mind of a depressed young woman and made me understand what led her to her drowning, I haven't seen that in Hollywood films. Yeah. And they did that within a horror movie that was already good.
For $600 in the Australian outback, yeah.
So I just feel like if I don't give it an A+, it's just because it feels like it's too small and I'm going to be teased for doing it. I can't think of a reason not to. So I'm going to give it an A+, and I'm personally going to give it an A+, because I'm not sure there's a person this is made more for than me. Like, who is the target audience other than me for this?
Yeah, fair.
Everything about this I loved. Even better on a rewatch. It's a difficult watch, but it's not, as much as I love Talk to Me, we always joke, it's not fuck you horror. Yeah. This movie ends on a positive enough note that I could watch it again because I know there is an emotional high that it ends on. And the scares are in service of an emotional resolution. They're not just there to ruin your day. MVPs, Avery, tell me who's the most valuable player in this production.
For my MVP, I'm gonna give it to Mr. David Pledger, who was Russell, the dad. I thought he was brilliant.
Yeah,
he was
fantastic.
Obviously, aside from kind of that final scare sequence in the desert, what really stood out to me right away when I finished this movie, what I was thinking about was very specifically the scene of the dad talking about leaving the light on for his daughter.
Right.
And just the way that he was portraying grief, I thought was so just excellent. I mean, I think he was closer to... I think part of why I had trouble empathizing with this is I kind of am expecting more cinematic language, right? I'm looking for characters to be more Hollywood than this movie wanted them to be. And he was the most that. Not in a way that felt counter to the documentary style. I think it worked with it.
Right.
But I just felt a little bit more explicit emotion from him than with the other characters who are kind of more like weird, hidden agenda, portraying it in weird ways. It was all intentional, but I just think that some of the most effective and kind of poignant moments for me were specifically Russell talking about it and that idea of he's the stoic father figure who doesn't believe in the paranormal, but it's kind of slipping out. Just on a purely emotional level, that's some of the stuff I connected with the most. And just this random, presumably he was an uncle on a soap opera in Australia and works in local theater. He doesn't have an IMDb page, but did an absolutely incredible job at that.
Nice,
so.
yeah. I'm sure Australian viewers will be like, no, what's his name from these 8 shows? Like, we don't know them, though. He's fantastic. Every one of his interviews is great. Yeah. I think he would get the Jeb Krieger Award for Best Interviewee in a Horror Movie.
I think so.
That's awesome. My MVP is very similar because my MVP is going to be Dina Mann, the casting director.
Oh, yeah.
I think she just did. I have never seen a finer collection of character actors in my life in a movie where it mattered more.
Yeah.
This movie does not work on the level that it did for me if these performances are fine. They had to be 100% believably real people for this format to work. And I think there's a reason no one else, or that I'm aware of, has really tried and succeeded at making a pure documentary style horror film, because it relies so much on the performances from everyone that it's probably too risky.
Yeah.
But they pulled it off.
Well, see, I'm giving them credit because it didn't work for me because it was just too close to a real documentary.
Yeah.
Like, if they were worse, I like the performances in Grave Encounters more because they were much worse.
This was not camp.
No.
This is as far from camp as you can pretty much get.
Yeah.
In terms of performances. It just feels like real people, and you could trick a lot of people into thinking this was a real movie until it gets to the really ghost stuff.
The only other thing I've heard the Ghost Watch described that way, and I kind of want to see it. It's a little teaser.
I don't want to leak anything about Halloween this year, but just keep that in mind, folks. Our channel, earnestly, has had a ton of growth recently. We're very appreciative. We've had a lot more views than we're used to. We've had a big subscriber jump. Extra special thanks to our patrons. I'm going to give them a shout out at the end of the video so you can see all their names. We've had a ton of growth, and we appreciate all of you tuning in immensely. If you are watching this and you haven't liked and subscribed, please do. It helps us out a lot. And we do have a Patreon if you want to check it out. There's fun stuff over there. No pressure, but if you want to support the channel, it's there. But we're just happy that all of you want to tune in.
Lake Mungo was something we had heard of, but that was suggested by you, our lovely viewers. So please continue to recommend movies. We do read them all and we check them out, and we love hearing from you what you guys want to see. So let us know. Let us know what you thought of Lake Mungo. Especially let us know if this wasn't either a failed or a success. If you thought this was like a 6.5 out of 10, pretty solid, I'd really love to hear from you.
Tell us why.
What?
Tell us why.
Thanks so much for hanging out with us here on the Green Corner.
And Avery, what's a sign off in Australian?
Oi.